Hey everyone, what is up? It is me, Ewan from WhatCulture Gaming, joined today by Josh Brown.
Hello, Ewan.
Hello, Josh, and I believe today you have some news for me as to why my beloved Red Dead Online has kind of been maybe ever so slightly neglected by Rockstar Games over the last year.
Maybe. I don't like to be the messenger. I don't like to come and tell you why the thing you like isn't doing as well as it could do or living up to its potential. But as you all may know, there was a Kotaku report last night where they cited 3 of their sources and they talked about the upcoming GTA trilogy remasters. But in there was a very interesting tidbit about Red Dead, both the potential of a Red Dead 1 remaster, but also an explanation as to why Red Dead Online isn't doing as well as it could be. Just to read the whole quote, they said, "For now, Rockstar is focused on getting these 3 remastered Grand Theft Auto games out the door alongside the GTA 5 next-gen ports. Rockstar Dundee is leading development and many other studios across Rockstar's vast network of teams are also pitching in on both projects. According to one source, everyone shifting to support these titles is one of the major reasons why Red Dead Online has seen fewer and smaller updates." So essentially, we're back to GTAville, baby. Like, everyone is working on GTA, whether it's going to be GTA 6, whether it's going to be the remasters, whether it's going to be GTA 5 remasters, and sadly, Ewan, Red Dead Online seems to be suffering as a result.
It's just so annoying. I can't believe that this is the reason why. And I kind of had a bit of like a Twitter rant the other day about this because for the longest time, like the past 4 weeks, Red Dead Online has been unplayable on PlayStation 5. They finally fixed it with a patch that came out this week that introduced the new Horde survival mode that they've introduced, which is really, really fun. And again, another example of the potential of that game that has kind of been squandered over the last couple of years. But there was literally a period of time where thousands of PS5 players could not access Red Dead Online because there was an infinite loading screen glitch. And any other online-focused platform in that space, you would have, that kind of instant recognition of, oh, this is a game-breaking bug. We are looking at it, we're investigating it, and then we're going to make a post when it's actually fixed. And that hasn't happened because Rockstar Games likes to be the elusive man. It likes to kind of have that era of like mystery to it. So they don't really communicate all that well with the community, which has led to many, many different frustrations over the years, and I do think some people maybe get a bit carried away with it all. But right. I definitely think when you compare Rockstar to the competition, even though gameplay-wise they're in their own class, they still haven't mastered the basics of community management and making sure that, when you're asking people to invest in a platform that has lots of microtransactions, it's probably a good idea to, at least, telegraph the trajectory of your given game. And the fact that, stealthily, we've only just discovered that Red Dead Online's main development team have been siphoned off to do GTA stuff, all the while GTA Online has been benefiting from more frequent and bigger additions over the last year in particular, it is a little bit frustrating because, as I say, Red Dead Online, the potential for that game is ridiculous. It is so much fun to play when it all works, and you can just see all the different things they could add but still haven't, and
I've got a few points to some of the great points you just said there, but first off, I want to say that, Red Dead Online, I think that might be my biggest disappointment of the entire generation because the main game, the single player of Red Dead 2, is I was going to say it's one of my favorite games of the generation, but it's just one of my favorite games. I love the way that thing plays, I love being in that world, and I was so disappointed that I couldn't get into Red Dead Online in the same way I could GTA Online. And I've kind of been waiting for it to pick up steam, and it almost felt like it was in 2019. I know they released some pretty major content packs for it across the latter half of that year especially, but then they sort of tapered off immediately in 2020, and 2021 hasn't been much better, so that's such a shame. And what you said about the way that they're quite elusive and the way they don't talk to the community as well, they used to get so much slack about that, especially from me, because obviously they weren't known for online games back in the day. Yeah, you had online kind of portions of GTA 4, but it wasn't their bread and butter. However, they have been running GTA Online especially for 7 years now, and that makes so much money. They release so much content for it that it almost feels inexcusable that they don't have more of a presence, more of a roadmap, more clarity in their communication to the wider community at large. And finally, and I think the most salient point is the fact that, yeah, exactly what you said there with GTA 5 getting a remaster before we get anything for Red Dead Online, before we get any kind of like major content drops for that, while GTA 5 continues to get so much in the way of content, new heists, new locations and all that stuff. And it's like, I simply cannot believe that we are getting a second remaster of Grand Theft Auto 5, a game I love, and Grand Theft Auto Online, before we get a proper next-gen update for both Red Dead 2 and Red Dead Online, which, you know, almost seems like would be more primed for one.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and I think that kind of that sums up the frustrations that a lot of people have, is that Red Dead kind of feels like the neglected child of all of Rockstar's kind of, you know, family. But I kind of think the thing that kind of, to me, typifies the lack of attention the game's been getting as well is that it's even the smaller requests that aren't really being enacted on. You know, I played the crap out of this game, right? I've got my own kind of, I looked up a tutorial on how to make Val Kilmer's Doc Holliday from Tombstone in game. So
yeah, you did.
I just roll around spinning guns and just saying all the dorky catchphrases from that film, which I adore. But even smaller additions, like I have lots of money in that game. I have a ridiculous amount of gold. I think I have nearly like 80 gold bars in that game now, and the gold takes a while to grind, but if you keep playing, it kind of evens out, and I have over like $14,000 in the game as well. It's ridiculous. But there's nothing to spend it on, Josh. And there's not even any cosmetics. The lack of variety with the cosmetics is frustrating. The tone of some of the cosmetics just doesn't match Red Dead as well. Lack of new weapons, lack of smaller, just little kind of quality of life improvements that get made to GTA but aren't happening to Red Dead. And I would say as well that the thing that exacerbates all of this isn't just the fact that it's the smaller stuff that isn't even coming along as well, is that Rockstar themselves, back when the Frontier Pursuits update dropped in 2019, which introduced the bounty hunter, trader, and collector roles, they kind of had a big interview with VG247 where they talked about, you know, some kind of vague aspirations they had for the game. And now, the thing that I think has really, really kind of disappointed people over the last year of Red Dead is that it seems as though, you know, Rockstar are aware of how big a role-playing kind of community that game revolves around. And I'm not talking about all those servers where it's dedicated to people, you know, actually acting out and doing menial jobs and stuff. I just mean people wanting to go into the game and, you know, fulfill the fantasy of being a businessman or a bounty hunter or whatever. And they seem to be really aware of that, because in this interview, you know, they mentioned the idea of like, oh, well, you're starting out at the camp now as a trader, but eventually you want to make it so that you can kind of become an industrialist and you can own multiple businesses. And it's like, those are big, massive ideas that you're talking about there. And they do mention that, you know, none of this is set in stone. At the time of the interview, it's like, oh, these are just things that we want to do. We're not actually implementing them. We're not actually actively working on them. But that is how we see the long-term vision for the game. When you talk about stuff like that, and you mention, you know, the introduction of heists, supernatural content maybe coming along the way, a more fleshed out dynamic role-playing system where bounty hunters can eventually become lawmen, and you can get people who want to be villains and outlaws and gangs and stuff, and kind of have that element in there as well. When you don't even tell people or clue people in on what the overall vision of your game is, when you've had a year of just kind of sparsely making, you know, a few additions here or there, and those additions not being that well received, it does kind of kill enthusiasm for the game overall, which has been the case with the most recent update, the Blood Money one, which in all honesty is a pale imitation of GT Online Heist, and it introduces another form of currency called Capitale, and it's a thing you have to grind out to be able to actually access the new heist missions. And the missions themselves are fun, but they're also really buggy and glitchy and not that well put together. Which again is why the new Horde mode this week has been such a breath of fresh air. But yeah, I think that the main thing for me that I'll always come back to is that Rockstar themselves are fully aware of the potential this game has. And the lack of communication, again, I just think we're past the point of Rockstar getting, you know, them being the quirky devs who don't really talk, because when you're asking people to invest in an online platform, they really need to know what they're investing into.
Yeah, totally. I mean, you can buy Red Dead Online separately now. Like it's its own game in the same way that GTA Online is. And I feel like I've always been hesitant to jump in, because it seems like every single time they have maybe kind of, you know, shown some promise, whether it's in an actual update, whether it's in some kind of quote like you mentioned there about the potential of the role-playing abilities, of the game roles, of who you can be and what you can do in that world. it's always just promises. It's always just someone speaking about what the game could be, which gets me excited, which gets my imagination going. But then what's ultimately given to us is kind of like, like you said, almost these pale imitations of things they've already done better in other games 7 years ago. And that's such a major shame. But at the same time, with this information in mind, I can hardly blame them in a way, because I no doubt the game has some really passionate people working on it with these ideas, talking about what they want to do, and it's just kind of clear that they don't really have the resources to do it when they've already kind of felt like they were neglected in terms of GDA, but now it kind of feels like that's more of a reality with people on Red Dead Online having to spend their time remastering the trilogy. And again, it sucks because I'm a fan of both of these franchises, but it does feel like Rockstar, more so than ever, is becoming this GDA factory. And that is something that I definitely don't want to see, not just in terms of because I love Red Dead, but because I want to see them make new IP, because I want to see them diversify their portfolio, because I want to see old franchises that they've worked on in the past return as well.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. But yeah, I want to know what you all think of this Red Dead Online neglection down in... Is neglection even a word? Neglection?
Yeah.
Let me know what you think of neglection as a concept anyway down in the comments below. Are you frustrated that Rockstar are turning all their attention to the GTA remasters? Or do you think that Red Dead Online is never going to fulfill its potential? Let me know in the comments below. Drop the video a like if you enjoyed it, and be sure to subscribe to WhatCulture Gaming so you don't miss another juicy upload coming to your subscription box. As always, I've been Ewan. You can catch me rootin' and tootin' on Twitter at Ewan Ruins Things, and you can follow Josh the Cult Master Brown at...
Thank you. At Josh Broom, where I'm not doing any rooting and tooting, but I'm living vicariously through Ewan, doing his looking at the Thing amalgamation in terms of whatever that glitch was that was going on in the sheriff's department that one time. I don't know what's going on. That's all I know from Red Dead Online, pretty much. Ewan.
Just come on, just make Sam Elliott and we can do the tombstone walk thing down through Armadillo. It'll be great.
You sold me. That's it.
Exactly. But bye.
Bye.